Hello students, welcome to the next session of the story The Model Millionaire by Oscar Wilde. In earlier presentations, we have discussed some parts of the story, and in this session, we will be completing the story and will be recapitulating whatever we have done in our earlier sessions, and also will be doing some post-reading activities. So students, let us discuss the story The Model Millionaire by Oscar Wilde. So, before beginning with the story, let us do some recapitulation, state whether the given statements are true or false. Number 1 is Hui Ersen was a rich and successful young man. You have to tell whether Hui Erikson was a rich or successful young man. The statement is true or false. Second, Hui was truly in love with Laura. Number 3, Laura's father was ready to marry her to Hui without any condition. Number 4, Alan Trevor liked Hui very much. Number 5, Hui was greatly impressed by the old beggar as a model. Number 6, Hui gave a sovereign to poor old beggar. Number 7, the poor old beggar was quite impressed by Hui. So these are some of the statements. You have to recapitulate the answers. You have to see whether the statements are true or false. So students, take some time and answer these statements. So let us discuss the answers. Number 1, Hui Erikson was a rich and successful young man. This statement is false. Number 2, Hui was truly in love with Laura. Yes, he was in love with Laura. Number 3, Laura's father was ready to marry her to Hui without any condition. This is a false statement because he laid a condition to get 10,000 pounds. Number 4, Alan Trevor liked Hui very much. This statement is true. Number 5, Alan wasn't impressed by the old beggar as a model. So this statement is false. Hui gave a sovereign to the poor old beggar. This statement is true. Hui gave a sovereign to the poor old beggar. Next is, the poor old beggar was quite impressed by Hui. Yes, the poor old beggar was impressed by Hui. This statement is true. So students, I hope you must have answered these statements correctly. So let us begin with the story. So before beginning with the story, let us discuss some new words and their meanings in the given context. The first word is wretch. Wretch is an unfortunate person. An unhappy person is called wretch. Number 2 is dreadful. Dreadful means causing suffering or trouble. Involving great suffering or unhappiness is dreadful. Number 3 is miserable. Miserable means unhappy, full of troubles. It means miserable. Number 4 is rags. Rags means torn clothes or tattered. Number 5 is splendid. Splendid is something very impressive, magnificent, very impressive. Number 6 is picturesqueness. It means visually attractive, attractive to see. Number 7 is relentless. Relentless means harsh and strict. Number 8 is overdrawing. Overdrawing means taking more money than an account holds. Number 9 is prevent. Prevent is to stop someone from doing something. Number 10 is whim. Whim is a strange desire, a sudden desire, urge. Number 11 is magnificent. Magnificent means very beautiful, extremely beautiful. Number 12 is dismay. Dismay means sadness, to be sad, dismayed. So students, these were some new words. So let us discuss some more words in detail. Number 13 is burst. Burst means to explode. Number 14 is roar. Roar means creating loud noise. Number 15 is alms. Alms means money or food or other donations given to poor and needy. Number 16 is chuckling. Chuckling means laughing quietly and inwardly. So laugh quietly, it's chuckling. 17th is capital. Capital means delightful, major. Number 18 means row. There are other usages of the words capital and row, but in the given context in the lesson, row means street. Number 19, philanthropic. Philanthropic means generous and kind act. A person who is generous, kind, and benevolent. Number 20 is reflects. Reflects is shows. 21 is apology. Apology is an act of begging forgiveness. Regretful acknowledgement of an offense is called apology. Number 22 is monsieur. Monsieur is a French word for Mr. Number 23 is stammered. Stammered means to speak with pauses. Number 24 is commissioned. Commissioned is to assign a duty. Authorize a duty is commissioned. So students, these were some of the words that will help us in understanding of the chapter in a better way. So now, let us discuss the rest of the story. My dear Alan, cried Hui, I shall probably find him waiting for me when I go home. But of course you are only joking. So when Hui comes to know that Alan has told everything about me to that poor beggar, he says that he must be waiting for me when I go home. But of course he thinks that you must be joking. Poor old wretch, I wish I could do something for him. So Hui wanted to do something for him because his condition was really miserable, and to him he seemed to be an unhappy person. I think it is dreadful that anyone should be so miserable. I have got heaps of old clothes at home. Do you think he would care for any of them? Why, his rags were falling to bits. So he was unhappy to see his state, his miserable condition. He wanted to give him whatever clothes he was having, the old clothes that he was having. He wanted to give those clothes to that poor beggar because he was in his rags. But he looks splendid in them, said Trevor. But Trevor thinks that the beggar was looking splendid, magnificent in them. I wouldn't paint him in a frock coat for anything. What you call rags, I call romance. So according to Trevor, what seems ugly to him is beautiful to the painter. What seems poverty to you is picturesqueness to me. So what you think is poverty to you is picturesqueness to me. It's visually attractive to me. However, I'll tell him of your offer, but I'll inform you of your offer that you wanted to give some of your old clothes to him. Alon said, "Hui, seriously, you painters are a heartless lot." So according to Hui, the painters don't have heart. "An artist's heart is his head," replied Trevor. "And besides, our business is to realize the world as we see it, not to reform it as we know it. Every man to his trade. So we know how to do our business. Our work is to paint the world as we see. We are not going to reform the world. We paint as we see the world. So to artists, our heart is our head." "And now tell me how Laura is." The old model was quite interested in her. So now Trevor wants to know about Laura, and he also says that the old model was also interested to hear about Laura. "You don't mean to say you talked to him about her?" said Hui. Hui says that you have talked to him about Laura also. "Certainly I did. He knows all about the relentless colonel, the lovely Laura, and the 10,000 pounds, said Trevor. So he said, "Yes, I have told him everything about the condition that the relentless colonel laid, and about lovely Laura, and the condition of £10,000. "How could you?" cried Hui, looked very red and angry. "My dear boy," said Trevor, smiling, "that old beggar, as you call him, is one of the richest men in Europe." So Hui was very angry to learn that Trevor has told everything about him and Laura. But Trevor says that the beggar that you are considering is one of the richest men in Europe. He could buy all London tomorrow without overdrawing his account. So without taking any money from his account, he can buy all London. He is so rich. He has a house in every capital, dines of gold plates, and can prevent Russia going to war when he chooses. So in every capital, he is owning a house, and he dines in gold plates, and he can prevent Russia from going to war when he chooses. So he has his authority on political matters as well, because he is a millionaire and he's having a lot of money, and he is one of the richest men in Europe. "So, what on earth do you mean?" exclaimed Hui. Hui said, "What do you mean by this?" "What I say," said Trevor. "The old man you saw today in the studio was Baron Houseberg. The man that you saw in my studio today was nobody else than the Baron Houseberg. He is a great friend of mine, buys all my pictures and that sort of thing, and gave me a commission a month ago to paint him as a beggar. So he's a great friend of mine. He buys all my pictures, and a month ago he has given me a commission to paint him as a beggar." What do you expect? It is the whim of a millionaire. So it is his whim, its desire, his urge to be a beggar. And I must say, he made a magnificent figure in his rags, or perhaps I should say in my rags. They are an old suit I got in Spain. So he said that he was looking perfect beggar in those rags. Those rags were mine. I bought that old suit from Spain. So it was my old suit from Spain, and in that my suit he was pictured as a beggar. "Baron Houseberg," cried Hui. "God heavens! I gave him a sovereign, and he sank into an armchair, the picture of dismay." So he was dismayed on learning that he gave a sovereign to Baron Houseberg, and he was disappointed. So Hui was totally disappointed about his behavior, that he gave one sovereign to a millionaire. "Gave him a sovereign," shouted Trevor, and he burst into a roar of laughter. "My dear boy, you'll never see it again. His business is with other men's money." I think you must have told me, Alan, said Hui sulkily, and not have let me make such a fool of myself. So he was upset that he had made himself a fool. Well, to begin with, Hui, said Trevor, it never entered my mind that you went about distributing alms in that reckless way. So it never came in my mind that you must be distributing the alms in this way. I can understand you kissing a pretty model, but you're giving a sovereign to an ugly one, by Jove. No, besides, the fact is that I really was not at home today to anyone, and when you came in, I didn't know whether Hausberg would like his name mentioned. So I was not prepared to entertain anyone today, and when you came, it didn't occur in my mind that what should I do, and it also, I didn't realize that you'll be distributing alms in this way. I can understand you kissing a pretty model, but giving a sovereign, it doesn't occur in my mind. And you know that I was not aware of the fact that whether Baron Hausberg would like his name to be mentioned or not. You know, he wasn't in full dress. What a duffer he must think me, said Hui. So he was really disappointed about his behavior, how he had dealt with Baron Hausberg. Not at all. He was in the highest spirits after you left. No, Trevor says, he was really happy after you left. He kept chuckling to himself and rubbing his old wrinkled hands together. So he was really happy about your behavior. I couldn't make out why he was so interested to know all about you. But I see it all now. He'll invest your sovereign for you. So I was not aware about the money that you gave to Baron Hausberg, but he'll invest the sovereign for you. We pay you the interest every 6 months and have a capital story to tell every dinner. So he'll be having a delightful story to tell at every dinner that when he was a beggar, some person came and gave him a sovereign. I'm an unlucky devil, growled Hui. The best thing I can do is to go to bed. And my dear Elan, you must not tell anyone. I shouldn't dare to show my face in the room. So Hui was upset. He said that it's better now that I should go to my bed and go to sleep. So, and he also requests Alan that not to disclose all this matter to anyone. Nonsense. It reflects the highest credit on your philanthropic spirit. Hui. So according to Trevor, Hui's behavior shows how philanthropic, how social, how generous he was. And don't run away. Talk about Laura as much as you like. So please talk about Laura. Just don't go away. I need to talk to you. However, Hui wouldn't stop. So Hui was totally upset and he don't want to stop now, but walked home feeling very unhappy and leaving Ellen Trevor in fits of laughter. So Ellen was all amused on Hui's behavior, but Hui was upset and he walked home because to him, one sovereign means walking home for 15 days. So he walked home feeling very unhappy. The next morning, he was at breakfast. The servant brought him up a card on which was written Monsieur Gustave Harden on behalf of M. Le Baron Hausberg. So next morning when he was at breakfast, a servant comes up with a card and on the card it was written Monsieur Gustave Harden on behalf of M. Le Baron Hausberg. So on behalf of Baron, a person comes in, his name is Monsieur Gustave Harden, and I suppose he has come for an apology, said Hui to himself, and he told the servant to show the visitor around. So Hui thinks that he must have come here for my apology, and he asked the servant to let the visitor in. An old gentleman with gold spectacles and grey hair came into the room and said, in a slight French accent, "Have I the honor of addressing Monsieur Son?" So, an old gentleman with gold spectacles and grey hair comes in the room and he wishes to address Mr. Erickson, that is Hui Erickson. Hui bowed. "I have come from Baron Hausberg. he continued, the Baron. He says that Baron Hausberg has sent him. I beg, sir, that you will offer him my sincerest apologies, stammered Hui. Hui says, I'm really sorry on my behavior, so I pay my sincerest apologies to Baron Hausberg. So I'm sorry about my conduct, what I did the previous day. The Baron, said the old gentleman with a smile, has commissioned me to bring you this letter, and he extended a sealed envelope. So he says, the old gentleman says that the Baron has commissioned me, has ordered me to bring you this letter and a sealed envelope. On the outside was written, a wedding present to Hui Rickson and Laura Merton from an old beggar. So it was written that this envelope is a wedding present to Hui Rickson and Laura Merton from the old beggar. And inside was a check for 10,000 pounds. When they were married, Ellen Trevor was the best man, and the Baron made a speech at the wedding breakfast. So both were married, Laura and Hui were married with the pounds that old beggar sent them as a wedding present. Millionaire models, remarked Ellen, are rare enough, but by Jove, model millionaires are rarer still. So Elan makes a speech. He says that models who are millionaire are rare to see, but by God, model millionaires who are inspiration are still rarer to see. So this was the story of model millionaire, about the love of Hui and Laura, the generous spirit of Hui Rickson. So let us do some post-reading activities now. Learning to read and comprehend. Choose the correct option. So you have to choose one correct option. Question number 1 is, what did Hui want to offer to the poor old beggar? So what do you want to offer? Option A, his clothes. Option B, his money. Option C, food. Question number 2, why did Hui get angry with Ellen Trevor? Option A, Ellen told the old beggar where Hui lived. B, Ellen told the old beggar about Hui's poverty. Or Ellen told the old beggar about Hui's girlfriend Laura. So why was Hui angry with Ellen? Question number 3, what was the real identity of the old beggar? He was one of the greatest painters in the country. Option B, he was one of the richest men in Europe. Option C, he was Trevor's partner working as a model. So these are some questions you have to answer. Take some time and choose the correct option. So let us discuss the answers. What did Hui want to offer to the poor old beggar? His clothes. Why did Hui get angry with Ellen Trevor? He was angry because Ellen told the old beggar about Hui's girlfriend Laura. What was the real identity of the old beggar? He was one of the richest men of Europe. So this was his real identity. Let us discuss some more questions. Why was Baron Hausberg interested about Hui's life? Option A, he thought of repaying Hui for his kindness and generosity. Option B, he wanted to teach Hui a lesson for his reckless nature. Option C, he wanted to prevent Laura to marry Hui. Question number 5, what was there inside the envelope? Option A, there was a check of 10,000 pounds inside the envelope. There was an apology note inside the envelope, or there was a job offer letter. Question number 6, who sent the check and to whom? Baron Hausberg sent the check to Elan as a payment for his paintings, or Baron Hausberg sent the check to Hui as a wedding present, or none of the above. So you have to answer these questions. You have to choose the correct option. So here are the answers. Let us discuss these answers. Why was Baron Hausberg interested about Hui's life? Because he thought of repaying Hui for his kindness and generosity. Question number 5 was, what was there inside the envelope? There was a check of 10,000 pounds inside the envelope. Question number 6, who sent the check and to whom? Baron Hausberg sent the check to Hui as a wedding present. So Hui was given a wedding present by Baron Hausberg for his generous and kind behavior. So these were some of the questions and the answers. I hope you must have answered these questions correctly. So students, let us do some activities related to grammar question. Learning the language. You have to change the voice. Number 1 is Laura adored him. 2, his pictures were eagerly sought after. Number 3, Baron Hausberg buys all my paintings. Number 4, I gave him a sovereign. Number 5, what do you mean? Number 6, Baron made a speech at the wedding breakfast. So these are 6 sentences and you have to change the voice according to the tenses and the rules of the voice. So students, take some time and do answer correctly these statements. So let us discuss the answers. Laura adored him. He was adored by Laura. Number 2, his pictures were eagerly sought after. People eagerly sought after his pictures. Number 3, Baron Hausberg buys all my paintings. All my paintings are bought by Baron Hausberg. Number 4, I gave him a sovereign. He was given a sovereign by me. What do you mean? What is meant by you? Number 6, Baron made a speech at the wedding breakfast. A speech was made by Baron at the wedding breakfast. So these are the answers. I hope you must have answered them correctly. So students, before signing out, I want to give you a home assignment. You have to answer the following questions in your own words in about 50 to 60 words. Question number 1, did his model behave differently from what Trevor had thought of him? If differently, how? Number 2, how was Baron Hausberg both a millionaire model and a model millionaire? Number 3, give in your own words a pen portrait of Baron Hausberg. Number 4, what impression do you form of Hui's character? Number 5, how and why did Hui oblige the old beggar? So these are some of the questions and you have to write your own answers with your own words in about 50 to 60 words. So students, this was the presentation by Department of School Education, Padho Punjab, Padhao Punjab. Voiceover was given by me. I'm Pushpdeep Karlote, lecturer in English, teaching in Government Girls Senior Secondary Smart School, Faridkot. And presentation was made by Mr. Sandeep Kumar, English Master, Government Senior Secondary School, Panjwala, SAS Nagar, Mohali, Punjab. So I hope students, you must have enjoyed the lecture. Thank you very much.